Vikings select Christian Ponder, quarterback, Florida State.
Coming to you now in mid-quality audio, brought to you in part by FNS Delivers. From your Vikings game day headquarters, right Mandarin at the Eden Prairie Center. It's football talk like you've never heard before. Get ready for America's favorite Minnesota Vikings podcast. With your hosts, Sticky.
I really hated what he did. I hope he starts on fire.
And Bun.
You have gotten naked and are standing right in front of me and are doing thrusts.
It's the Sticky Buns Fun Time Happy Football Program. Ladies and gentlemen, Sticky and Bun.
And we're on! Sticky may have been laughing at my countdown. I try to give him a little bit of warning before every episode, and he just laughs at me.
Because I said we should record it.
I don't think me counting, 3, 2, 1, 0 is... I don't actually usually say 0.
You don't. And it's probably more so because I get to watch your face as you're counting down very seriously. So even the listeners wouldn't... They would just hear you counting and me laughing.
I don't know that they would laugh. I think that's just you. Are we sure you're not high right now?
I might be. I mean, I've never done drugs in my life, but actually I did do a delivery once a while back. Let's just call it a while back, to a football player that plays for my favorite color. And I'm pretty sure I got high just when he opened the door.
But you've been on cold medicine.
I don't classify NyQuil as cold medicine. I mean, I guess you
probably
but technically have to show your ID.
It's a drug.
It is a drug, I suppose. You're right.
People get high off that stuff. They usually mix it with other stuff, don't they? I don't know how it works.
I feel like you have way more information on that than I do. Okay,
maybe.
Here's the problem.
Do you want to know what the new phrase of the week is?
Oh, good Lord. Do I want to know?
Probably not, but...
Hit me with your best shot.
Rectal feeding.
What?
That's a thing, apparently.
Wait.
Did you know you could rectally feed someone?
Okay, I think this needs to be clarified. Are we talking about rectal feeding in terms of someone getting their food from a rectum, or giving someone their food into their rectum?
It's you putting food into their rectum, and that's how they're digesting it.
I mean,
it was part of the torture report that came out. Apparently, one of the things we were doing to people were giving them medically unnecessary rectal feedings.
I feel like there's a reason I don't read that stuff, and I think you hit it on the head. That is exactly why I don't read that stuff.
They would puree the food up and then insert it into their ass. It was basically anal rape. We were anally raping them.
I feel this ship has sank really quickly. Hold on. Why? First off, we have to say that we're not big fans of torturing us. So if you'd like to torture other people, like anyone that plays the Minnesota Vikings, or Skeletor, or...
Does Skeletor have a rectum that he could be fed? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean, he does have muscles. I just figured the skeleton was just the head part.
You might be right. You're probably right. That's probably a fair guess.
But why were you... What caused you to think, I should read this? I really need to know. I'm going to be tortured.
It's on the news sites that I check out frequently.
Are they fair and balanced?
I think they describe themselves as biased, but I forget. He has a phrase that he uses, but
okay.
It's not Fox, because Fox doesn't think anyone was tortured.
Really?
Some of them
Didn't a report come out saying we torture people?
We anally fed them unnecessarily. I don't know how you describe what definition of torture you could give that does not include, that would somehow fall out of the bounds of unnecessary rectal feeding.
I just I wonder where, like, are we sitting in a room somewhere concocting these things and then asking scientists, can we put this in their ass?
See, you were asking about all the beers over there. Me and the intern and the intern's friend were talking about this, and so I think they needed the extra alcohol to process.
Thank God. I was really afraid of where you were going with that for a bit.
No, we did not
I was really
rectally
afraid.
drink.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't...
I have heard of things done with tampons and such.
What?
You've never heard of that? Dipping the tampons in vodka and then shoving them in various orifices to get drunk?
No.
Oh, no, that's a thing that happens.
When did this happen? Like,
at various college parties.
Right, but is it a new thing?
It's a fairly new thing, I think.
I'm really glad I don't go to college now. I don't think I'd survive. I think I'd be dead. I'm pretty sure. Really?
Yeah, that's a thing. You can look it up.
Yeah, I don't really have any words that I'd really like to describe my thought process on this.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of my least favorite thing in the torture report was the guy that, we gave ice baths to and we chained him to a cold floor and he froze to death, and then we found out he wasn't who we thought he was. That's what we did, America. Now, speaking of torture, that last game. That was terrible. It was not rectal feeding. Terrible. Me and the intern said that we had to find a way to use the phrase rectal feeding as often as we could today, and I haven't used it very often today, so I might lose. But now, because of the podcast, I think I'll win.
Thankfully,
rectal feeding.
Thankfully, we have a break from the torture report with Sticky Buns while we do this short commercial called NFL Football.
But no, that last game was terrible.
Depends on who you are.
I don't think it was good for anyone.
I think it was good for some. I think it was good for Gerald Hodges for one play. I think it was good for Teddy Bridgewater as a whole.
Certain players played well, but as a whole, as a game,
it was very entertaining.
Rectal feeding. I'm going to stop using that. I think I'm going to stop talking about that now. But
we may lose 25% of our viewership, our listeners, which would be one. Because I'm pretty sure we only have 4. Maybe not. I haven't checked. You need to stop checking because it's.
I don't actually check anymore.
Okay.
And I've been bad about putting it on YouTube since it seems like most people just download it anyhow.
Do they?
That was the impression I was given, but I could be wrong.
I have
no one has complained that I've been late on the YouTube videos, and people were complaining when it wasn't available for direct download.
Well, you're in charge of technical aspects, so I'm in charge of making this look pretty. Obviously, one of us is failing. It was entertaining, but I would agree with my favorite head coach in the history of any sport, Mike Zimmer, and say that, yeah, we'll take the win, but it shouldn't have gone that way.
Yeah, that was horribly played on a lot of levels. Coaching decisions I found questionable, mostly from our offensive coordinator.
Do you need to just get this out of the way immediately? Just be honest. Don't hit me.
How do you feel about Norv Turner as an offensive coordinator?
How do I feel? I feel like he's brilliant. I like his style, and I look forward to a very, very bright future with him and I. Me as a fan, and him as my offensive coordinator, grooming his son to be the offensive coordinator and then our head coach, Scott Turner.
I certainly don't want him fired or anything like that. I'm willing to, say this season is what it is.
He has been around since the invention of football. You realize that, right?
That's great. He keeps losing jobs recently.
Yeah, well, yeah, but his last job he lost because the whole coaching staff was fired.
Yep.
That wasn't his fault.
They could have tried to keep him.
He actually did a really good job for them.
See, I was really excited about it because for them, they had a horrible quarterback situation, and he somehow got production out of it.
Correct.
But I have to be honest.
He also had Josh Gordon.
He had Josh Gordon. I haven't seen anything in the offense outside. I mean, there's been bright spots. Charlie Johnson. Certainly, he's been a bright spot.
Which one?
The one that doesn't suck.
So I'm assuming you mean our number one wide receiver who almost went undrafted.
Yeah.
Okay.
McKinnon. Very good season. Much more than I could have expected out of him.
Sure.
Bridgewater seems to be progressing nicely.
He's beautiful.
At the same time, when you look at the stats at the end of the day, our offense has been terrible in a lot of ways. In terms of first downs, yards per game, time of possession per game. Our third down conversion rate isn't great. I was trying to find 3 and out drives, rankings of that. I could not find that.
You went rectal feeding on this. You went all the way in.
Now you're saying it.
You wanted to find.
But no, in a lot of those categories, we're 27th or 28th. We're right around Jacksonville and Tampa Bay.
Okay.
It feels like every single one of our offensive linemen is having a down year. Some worse than others. Mm-hmm. Sullivan has not been terrible, but I don't think he's been as good as last year.
Sure.
I've questioned the usage of certain players, particularly in the backfield.
Okay.
It's distressing to me.
Wait, you have?
Believe it or not, you might have missed it.
Weird. I think I did miss it.
Patterson obviously has not developed. And we apparently can't even find ways of just manufacturing touches for him. They hate him that much. Because honestly, at this point, I'd be fine if they just lined him if he was our lead tailback.
No, you would not.
Over what we've been seeing, I'm not saying he should get all the carries. Like, I would say split them more, even with him as the top tailback. And you're going to have to, because I doubt he's a great pass protector.
Yeah, I think we've seen his blocking downfield, and there's no pass protecting there.
Yeah. So, maybe all the offensive linemen played better than we should have expected last year. There have been injuries, although really only one for a large amount of time.
Sure.
Maybe there was nothing he could have done. But you see at the end of the year, on a lot of number of things, the offense is terrible. Not just bad, but like Jacksonville bad. Like Tampa Bay bad.
Tampa Bay's got a good offense.
They have a good offensive player.
They have Dougie Martin. Shout out to Lucas, who loves Doug. I don't know if Lucas listens. I'm just going to hope he does.
No, they don't. If you look at their rankings are terrible too.
But okay. Settle down there, Bunny, okay? First off, it depends a lot. So, by and large, Tampa Bay's defense sucks. Okay?
They shut down our offense.
Our offense shut down our offense, okay? So, I understand. I don't think Tampa Bay's offense is going to set the world on fire. But they do have Vincent Jackson. They do have Mike Evans. They do have good running backs. I don't frankly remember their offensive line, and their quarterback, Josh McCown, should be doing better. I'm not a Mike Glennon guy. But it depends on how you're playing and how is your offense constructed. Okay?
So our offense is constructed to go 3 and out?
Kind of.
Because if so, we're doing great.
Kind
we
of.
are right on track.
It actually is, because if you think about it, we have new players. We have Jerick McKinnon. We'll pretend he's not on IR for this sake. We have Jerick McKinnon. We have Teddy Bridgewater. We've got Charles Johnson. Outside of that, we have the same offense we had last year, right? Same tight ends, same offensive line. Okay? We have Christian Ponder's offense. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. We have Christian Ponder
I want to hit you now.
and Adrian Peterson's offense.
We switched offenses.
Sure, but you have to wait until your personnel catches up with your switch.
Now, see, there's the interesting thing.
Do you see a lot of the same plays being run?
No. If they are, I'm not recognizing them.
They are, but you don't recognize them
Because I remember a lot more run 3 yards, turn around, and stop, and wait. I don't see too many go 3 yards, turn around, stop, and wait.
Sure. Well,
So it does not feel like the same offense to me.
sure, but I think I like to give this coaching staff credit for actually teaching what we're actually trying to do, rather than just this is what we're going to do, go do it, and then random people do random things. Especially last year when you had Christian Ponder as your quarterback, he certainly wasn't going to yell at anyone and tell them they were doing a wrong thing, right? Because let's imagine Christian, and I love him dearly. Let's imagine he yells at you and says anything. You're immediately going to laugh and make fun of him.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. It's still the same, but it's different. Okay? Follow me along this path. Be with me, Bun. Let's hold church together on this eve of December. What you are looking for is more explosive plays, but you kind of are. I'm not even talking 60-yard touchdowns.
I'm looking for first downs.
Okay, that's fine. But you lost your number one playmaker on offense, Adrian Peterson.
Okay.
Now, I know Cordero flashed a lot, and we know what Greg Jennings is capable of, but we can all agree that Greg Jennings is the number 2 at this point. He's crafty, wily veteran guy. Charles Johnson has become a really nice one, but up until, 2-3 games ago, he was still learning how to play NFL football. Cordero, he was only successful last year when we started just manufacturing everything for him, right?
Yeah.
Everything was behind the line. We weren't throwing deep slants to him. We weren't doing out routes. It was 1 to 3 yards or less and get you the ball, and then you just make something amazing happen. Right?
Yep.
You can't do that when none of them care about who your running back is. They don't respect your running back. Now, if they respect where you would, let's say the jet sweep, okay? Everyone loves the jet sweep. It's the most talked about thing in the history of mankind in Minnesota. It's ridiculous. I honestly don't know if the jet sweep existed before us because it's so Minnesota now. It worked in St. Louis, right? Because you had Adrian Peterson running the opposite direction. They have to account for him. When you have Matt Asiata running that direction, all of the defense says, I don't care. Because all I have to do is touch you, and you will fall down. Yes, you might fall down for 3 yards, but I'll get over it. Unlike Adrian Peterson, who, if you touched him, he might fall down for 70. It was like having 2 Cordero Pattersons. And Adrian would have hit you hard. Matt Asiata can hit you, but not like Adrian Peterson can hit you. So, when you try and do those now, and you got the other guy running, everyone focuses on Cordero. So the few times they've tried it, there's nothing. There's
He
less
gained
than
6
nothing.
yards on the one play they gave him this week, which is more than Asiata got on most of his carries.
But we're now in what? What is this, week 15?
13.
13?
14. It was 13th game, so week 14.
We're in week 14, so it took them 13 games to be able to bring that back where they had attempted, and it was negative yardage. Now, let's run the same play with a different offensive player. We've run it with Jarius. We've run it with Charles Johnson. We've run it with Greg Jennings. I didn't even know that was possible. We've run it once with Greg Jennings. He was probably like, I can't do this, guys. I'm too old. All of them have gotten more than 15 yards. Even Greg Jennings. That's insane. It's because they know that's all he can do. There's a reason why he's left all alone when he runs the long patterns, the 9 routes. Because what's he going to do with it? Nothing. Yet. And Cordero has come out and said, I don't practice very well. I need to focus. I need to have better habits. The coaching staff has basically said, you need to be specific. This isn't a game anymore. And this is what? He is second year in the NFL. He had 1 year at Tennessee, 1 year at junior college, and 1 year in high school. Let's just call it 1 year in high school. So in the last 5 years, he's run 5 different offensive systems. Do you ever remember anyone saying Cordero Patterson was a genius when it comes to the playbook?
No.
What do you remember them saying when he came out of college?
He's a big dum-dum.
And he's super raw, right? So you're teaching him how to do things a normal receiver knows how to do. Because when he can do that, then he's more like Josh Gordon because he has those freak athletic skills that he can add to when he's getting that ball.
I hear what you're saying. I feel though good offenses, you can know what they're going to do, and it doesn't matter. You can't always be predictable. I still find it hard to believe they can't sometimes say, you know what? We know you're aware this is quite possibly going to be a zero pattern to Patterson. We don't care.
Well, that's
we're going
way
line up
easier.
Across you, and we're going to beat you.
That's way easier said with a run game than a pass game because there are so many problems that can happen with the pass game.
Maybe Patterson can't run every route, but no routes. They can't teach him 5 or 3 routes.
Remember, him being demoted was recent. It's only the last handful of games.
And so they've had a lot of games to teach him just a couple basic things so that it's not always evident that it's going to be a zero pattern. They can't use them as a decoy on the jet sweep some more often so that becomes more of something that maybe would work. I don't know. I worry about offenses that seem to... I don't like coordinators, and I'm hoping Norv Turner isn't this, but coordinators that say, we're going to run my offense, and I can't adapt at all to what I have.
No, he's already adapted from what he
hasn't adapted to use Banyard or Tate. He hasn't adapted to use Patterson.
You realize that he's adapted to use Patterson, right? Like your version of adapted and his version is different.
His version is he doesn't do it very much.
Statistics came out right before Patterson was benched or demoted. Statistics came out when Teddy was throwing at Patterson. His completion rate was in the 30%.
Oh, it was terrible. But some of that was also Teddy.
Sure, but then why was it in the 70s for everyone else?
I don't know. The different routes they were running with them, but I find it hard to believe you can't teach Patterson 3 routes and get those to be consistent.
But you don't. That isn't going to help him with his long-term development.
I think you start somewhere and you get him on the field.
We don't know that they're not doing that now.
We know they're not getting him on the field. He played 1 snap last week. You can't say, oh, we don't know if he's getting on the field. We saw him. He got 1 snap.
He missed the entire week of practice.
I think he missed... that was a week before. That was the week before he had 3.
Then he played more than 1 snap.
He had 3 snaps last week, and that was the one he missed because of the funeral.
Okay.
And then I don't remember hearing anything about missed practices this week.
I may be wrong, maybe the other week, but if you had trouble learning offenses before, and the only reason you got hot last year, the only reason was because they manufactured touches for you. They force-fed you the ball in only spaces where it should be negative plays, and you had to make freakish things happen that cannot be duplicated in the long term.
Again, you can't get a couple plays down with him.
Ask him. I can't answer you. I can't answer you. I don't know if he takes the playbook home and studies it. I don't know if he stays after practice.
I guess I don't know either. It concerns me that Musgrave found ways...
No.
Oh,
No.
You just said Musgrave manufactured touches for him.
You also had Adrian Peterson.
You still There were plays that they had to know that there was a good chance Patterson was getting the ball.
But they still had to account for Adrian Peterson, the MVP of the NFL. A first ballot Hall of Fame running back who had just done a 2,000-yard season.
Okay.
You are now comparing a situation where we've got two people who are going to be in the backfield, Adrian and Cordero Patterson, and you have to choose. Versus, we have two people in the backfield. It's going to be Matt Asiata and Cordero Patterson, and you're going to choose who to cover.
Okay, but they can't use him as a decoy to get those plays opened up again.
I don't know if they have or not.
He was on the field one play last week.
I don't know what they're game planning. Okay, but
I know they're not game planning to use him as a decoy because they didn't do it.
We did have an entire half season of him constantly out there and doing nothing and just eating up space. I would rather him be on the bench and have Greg Jennings and Charles Johnson out there where both could potentially make something happen versus just having him be a decoy. What purpose does that serve?
So we can open up those manufactured plays because they stop worrying about them.
They're not going to stop worrying about him.
If we're not running them, that affects you if you don't see these plays played very often.
No.
You just talked about how his jet sweep was getting negative yards. We didn't do it for a while, and then he gained. And it wasn't a big gain, but it was 6 yards, which was more than we were getting most running plays. And that was against a good running defense.
Yes, they're a very good defense. Mr. Bunn, if it pleases the court, the problem when you can only do one thing, they know that he's not going to suddenly develop deep route. Okay? That's just not going to happen this year. So he can only do one thing. If he's going to be on the field, even if it's a decoy, they're still going to go after it every single time.
Well, then that seems like it could help open other things up.
Okay, so let's pretend we're going to do 3 wide receiver set and use him as the decoy back there.
Okay, so since they're focusing so much on him because they're so nervous, maybe we can run the ball. And we haven't been able to do that.
You're not going to be able to run the ball. You have a nice face on your face. The reason you can't run the ball is because what he does poorly directly affects what you do right in front of you. It's the old Adrian Peterson, Percy Harvin problem. Percy Harvin, great player. Love Percy Harvin. Well, I used to. I don't know if I love him anymore. I haven't figured that out. But Percy Harvin, he would make his money on the intermediate to shallow routes, right? Kind of like Cordero Patterson.
Yep.
But Percy was short, so he couldn't really do the long stuff. He did some stuff like that because he was a more natural receiver than Patterson. But when you have Adrian Peterson and Percy Harvin in the backfield together, they actually become negatives for each other. Because when you have Adrian, everyone stacks the box, right? Because they want to stop your most powerful weapon. If you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us on man coverage on the outsides. When you put Percy in the backfield with him, they're like, great, we already stacked the box.
Okay, but let's talk about that 3 wide receiver set where you put 3 guys on the same side. You're moving linebackers over there. You're moving a safety over there to go along with the cornerbacks.
Go along with the cornerbacks where?
to the side where we've got 3 wide receivers near each other, like we did for the right play at the end of the game.
Okay, you would have...
You're moving a lot of guys towards the sideline.
No, or it would be straight-up man coverage. You're not moving a lot. You're moving 3. And you would have one on the other side, so it would actually only be 2.
But you're so worried about Patterson now, according to you, that they're going to focus extra attention on him.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you... Okay, so what in that scenario, what's going to happen is you're going to do man. So you may have one safety deep. Maybe it's a cover 1.
And they're going to lean that way, or is there plays to be made?
Just hold on. Let me walk this through, okay?
Okay.
So you got one safety deep, okay? We'll have him kind of be the deep spy on Patterson. Okay, he's either going to stay deep and to cover the third wide receiver, which in this case would be Patterson, or he's going to, help cover deep if that third receiver doesn't come. You've got the 2 cornerbacks on the outside guys, right?
Well, that seems like if you have 3 wide receivers and 2 cornerbacks and a safety deep, that feels like an opportunity.
Sure, with man coverage, it's always an opportunity. We're not talking about man coverage and passing. You asked about running.
I'm saying we're setting that up. We're setting the defense up, but we're going to run the ball.
I'm discussing that,
But we can then
though.
check into this. I mean, if you're going to say
Absolutely.
that they're not
Which
actually
is
that concerned
exactly
about
what Teddy did on the last play and
we
overtime.
can't figure out a way to take advantage with that with Patterson.
It's just not that simple. This isn't Madden.
I don't even play Madden, so I don't know how to compare it to Madden.
You play Madden in your mind.
I don't play Madden in my mind.
Yes, you do. I've
I'm
watched you
talking
at the
about-
games. I've seen you play Madden in your mind.
No, I wouldn't know how to play Madden in my mind.
I
don't
saw
hit
you
the
hit-
hit stick.
I saw you hit the X.
Is that the hit stick? What does the X do? What does the X do?
It depends on who you have it on. The X, B, and the A buttons are who you're passing the ball to, generally.
Okay.
Do you want to talk passing?
No.
Or running?
No, I don't
Sometimes
care
there's
about Madden. Madden just makes me mad because this fat old coach gets all the credit when all the programmers do all the work, and no one talks about that. What did Madden do to create the game? Nothing. He did nothing. There's no credit given to the programmers. Fuck Madden.
Actually, they do a lot of YouTube videos on how the production team makes this happen. So I disregard your statement on no love for the programmers.
Okay.
What else would you like to talk about?
Holy shit, are they misusing Asiata?
They're not misusing him.
They are misusing him. If he's seeing 19 carries, that's misusing him.
I do agree with Zimmer in the effect that
They're running with him too much? That might be misusing him, according to some people.
no, he said sometimes you just kind of get lost in the game itself and you forget who you're putting back there. Do you know what?
Well, then I'm all the more concerned about Turner if he doesn't know who's on the field when he's calling plays.
This is where it's not his fault.
It's not Turner's fault.
Or Zimmer's, because
It's nobody's fault to know who's
if you
on the field.
If you actually had someone better.
I think we do have people better at running the ball.
I do not think Ben Tate, or maybe Ben Tate. I do not think Joe Banyard's better.
I think with the ball in his hands, I think Banyard is better. There is a lot of evidence that Banyard is better.
One game does not make a career.
And preseason, and just looking at him.
I could probably give you a list of 100 names every single year
Oh,
who say preseason I'm amazing.
I don't think Banyard is amazing. I think he could be out of the league next year. I do not
Probably
think
will be.
Banyard is anything special. But Asiata, other than people on the line, there is no one on our offense that is worse with the ball in their hand, and that probably actually includes some of the people that play offensive line.
I would pay money to see some of our offensive linemen just run with the ball.
Maybe we found what Khalil should move to.
I keep telling you, just put Christian back there as your lead back.
I said that I would prefer that to seeing Asiata fall into the line 19 times a game.
Because if he gets killed, everyone's happy anyway.
I think he would get yards occasionally. He
Asiata
might
gets
make
yards.
a cut.
Asiata made a cut once. I saw it. He jumped through a hole. The hole was gigantic. Like, the entire stadium could have walked through it. So it's not his fault.
Whose fault is it?
No, that the hole was there. He did his job. I think this is more along the lines of things take time. And I know it's harder when sometimes you get the rare players who don't take time. But you were counting on Adrian, and then you had to quick and get Jarek up
I
to
have
speed.
no problem with the fact that our running game isn't going to be great because of the loss of Patterson and McKinnon. That's not what this is. I'm not expecting great things from our offense or from our running game. I'm expecting, though, when we run with someone, with the person who gives us the best chance to gain yards. Not someone who has naked photos of Turner or some other stupid reason that makes no sense to anyone, including Zimmer.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask a straight-up question.
Okay.
Do you think that right before, like when they're going up to the board and they're looking at who the starters are for each position, do you think when Matt goes up and he's scanning the list and he's looking for running back and he sees his name and he goes over and he sees his name, do you think at that moment before every game that Norv Turner just walks up behind him, licks his ear from behind and says, "Atta baby," and then just walks away?
You know, that makes as much sense as any other explanation I've been able to come up with. It is possible that they are lovers.
He has to slap him in the ass.
Absolutely. They probably rectally feed each other a lot.
You took it. I gave you the opening. You took it. Well
You
played.
wanted me to.
Well played. I did. I was your fullback, and you drove through that hole, just like that bag of food. Can we just not talk about Asiata ever again?
I'm happy with being done at least for a week. Let's move on. What the hell was the defense's problem? I mean, it was very odd because other than a few, they made a couple really big plays, and then most of the rest of the time were terrible.
Well, Zimmer did say that it was mostly his fault.
I know you believe everything that comes out of Zimmer's face.
He did.
I'm sure he did say that. I don't think that it's his fault that Josh Robinson or Captain Munderlich goes, "I don't know where the wide receiver is. Oh, I'm going to crash into him."
Listen, but if you're going to do wild accusations like that, the mic needs to stay near your mouth because we need to hear that. Every syllable.
You know the play I'm talking about. It was the second drive where all of us...
talking about.
The second drive the Jets had.
You get so serious.
The second drive that they had. I forget if it was... I think it was Captain.
Nope.
Okay, it was Josh Robinson.
Yep.
Completely lost where his guy was going, and then just ran into him.
Oh, that was later on. That was Captain.
I'm talking about the second drive.
No, because that happened later because early on...
Well, there were other times they just ran into their wide receivers.
The second drive was where somehow Percy Harvin burned Josh Robinson and caught a very long pass and then juked the shit out of Robert Blanton, and I laughed inside, and then he was tackled. Yes, you're talking about later when... he tried to hump the guy's head while jumping and disregarding the ball.
Yeah, that was as bad of pass coverage as I've ever seen, and we lived through the Leslie Frazier era.
At least it was an entertaining tackle.
Oh my goodness. It was like, what the hell are you doing? So Zimmer can say, that was my fault. I don't believe him.
Well, but he said they game planned very heavily to address the run, and they came out passing. So he said it was difficult to turn that around because we hadn't worked on any of the passing plays. So it kind of is his fault because they weren't prepared.
Okay, they were expecting something else. I don't know what coverage they thought they were running, though, where I'm not going to cover anyone. Let Percy run free. Free, Percy! I still don't think that was what he taught them to do.
Oh, no. Afterwards, he did say, when a reporter said, how did you cover Percy? And he said, we didn't.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that wasn't in the game plan. Okay, guys, this Percy Harvin guy, disregard him.
But it worked because he said, just wait, he'll get injured, and we'll be fine. And it happened.
He did get injured. No, I mean, we stopped him from getting in the end zone other than the Percy Harvin touchdown. But
we did.
They marched down the field almost every time.
They did.
That was terrible.
It was.
I didn't enjoy watching it.
I enjoyed watching you watch it. Except when you brought me that stupid bowl of soup. I thank you for it, but it was a stupid bowl of soup.
It tasted good, though.
I guess.
It didn't taste amazing, but it's better than most. You know, TCF Bank has terrible food.
You're amazing.
It's terrible food. I didn't know you could screw up a cheeseburger as bad as they do at TCF.
Yeah, my dad got a burger with no meat in it.
There was bacon, but the actual burger wasn't there.
It was like a $9 burger.
Yeah. But no, the food they serve us tastes like it came from animals that didn't have souls.
I'm really glad that you know the difference, because I'd be scared if you didn't. Are you sure they don't have souls?
Yes.
Did you check them? Did you anally feed them?
Is that how you destroy something's soul?
I would assume so.
That does seem like a good way to destroy someone's soul.
Maybe I'll go home tonight and I'll ask my wife. I think I really need to be anally fed tonight. Can you
just spice things up a little bit?
You did say till death do us part in sickness and in health. We're just gonna call this a sickness, and I'm dying. And we don't have to discuss why you're actually laughing.
I enjoyed my little moment there.
We're gonna move on. Can I tell you about a side bet I have in fantasy football?
Sure.
I'm in the semifinals. Whoop whoop. Basically because you traded me all your good players. Thank you. Several times, so it wasn't even just one big swoop.
You anally fed me on some of those trades.
I did. I am playing our friend Elijah. And we have to make a side bet.
Okay.
What do you think the side bet is? Because this is to go to the championship. I'm thinking.
Is it associated with my ticket?
No.
No. Is it work related?
Nope. It's Vikings related. Well,
I don't know.
It's Vikings related at this moment. Neither of us have a player playing tonight, I don't think. Forgot there was still football.
Well, yeah.
Here's what happened.
Okay.
I said, next year for our draft, whoever loses has to bid $1 on Christian Ponder.
Oh, jeez.
And he responded like an intelligent person would. You mean someone's going to draft Christian Ponder for $1? And I said, absolutely.
All right.
And it's got to be our first bid.
Our first bid has to be... Wow. Yeah. No, that's a good bet. That's a good bet.
I like that. I'm going to win probably, so it doesn't matter. Maybe I'll bid 2 just to put him out of his misery.
You'll bid 2 not to put him out of your misery, because you'll be excited. You will have talked yourself into being excited about Ponder somehow stealing a job somewhere by beating up the starting quarterback.
He might. Tanya Harding.
He might Tanya Harding someone.
I like that. I was running on the treadmill the other day, and I watched a documentary on Tanya Harding.
Oh, the 30 for 30 thing?
Yeah. It's crazy. Let's talk about next week.
I don't think this is going to be a pleasant week to watch Vikings football. I think prayers should be said. Should we pray right now for Teddy's safety?
The health of Teddy?
Yeah.
I think we've basically been doing that since he started.
But this week he's going to need a little bit of extra cover.
You think what, 6 sacks? Think they'll equal the 8 they had last time they played us?
They might. It is going to be ugly.
I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Oh, you're not going to say something stupid, are you?
I'm going to go out on a limb. Okay?
Okay.
I am predicting that the Vikings win.
I want to punch you. You don't even know. I'm just staring at a place where I could just punch you, and I know it would cause you pain.
Severe pain. I would be down for the count. It burns so bad.
Because it's like, you deserve this. You deserve this like Norv Turner deserves it. No, we're past that. We're not talking about that anymore.
No, we're not. Get your head out of the gutter.
But what gives you hope that the offense will score points?
I never said that.
So we're going to outscore them purely by defense.
And special teams.
And special teams.
They did allow a kick return and a punt return for a touchdown last year to us, right? Or was that the year before? Doesn't matter. I like the idea of playing Detroit later on in the season because they always find a way.
It's too late for them to find a way. If they were going to fall apart, they might back into the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't mean they don't make the playoffs. I don't care about that. I mean, they always find a way to beat themselves.
Not so far this year.
But they haven't faced the Minnesota Vikings for weeks.
For weeks? Ooh. So our offensive line is going to do enough that we win against that defensive line.
Yeah, because what you're going to do is you're going to have the 5 offensive linemen up. You're going to put a fullback, your running back, and a tight end in between the offensive line and Teddy.
It's all going to be shotgun that the ball will pass through extra people.
Yes. And then you're going to have 2 wide receivers only. That's how you do it.
I don't think Norv Turner will come up with that game plan. He maybe should.
We also have, since the last time, we have the same running game, basically. But we have Charles Johnson.
We had McKinnon last game.
Right, but he wasn't the McKinnon that we grew to love. It was still the McKinnon Asiata show. It wasn't the McKinnon show.
Okay.
We have Charles Johnson, who's learned somewhat how to be number one. And we have Teddy, who's learned how to be a little better of a quarterback.
Has he learned to be a quarterback in 0.5 seconds?
No, but I really think, as Mike Zimmer showed against the Packers, if you give him a second game in a season to game plan for you, he'll figure some shit out.
He figured some shit out on defense.
Sure.
On offense, our offense still wasn't great the second game, and their defense isn't all that spectacular, especially on the road. Anyhow, they have some spectacular players.
Yeah, but see but we protected Teddy a lot better than we had been. Teddy didn't execute well that game. If he had hit a couple plays, we win the game. In terms of the Lions, their secondary isn't anything. Glover Quinn is an okay safety, but that's about it. I don't like their secondary. It's terrible. Their secondary looks much better because their front 7 is getting amazing pressure, but they've already lost one linebacker. Was it Tulloch?
Yep.
They lost Tulloch, which I kind of like. Kind of want him on the Vikings at some point. Well, he's too old now. And I think they're starting to figure out some things that they can do schematically to help with the shoddy offensive line that we have. And if that means keeping 3 people back to extra protect, then Teddy will run it.
We just gave up a safety this last game.
Yeah, but they interviewed, this was the big Toys for Tots thing that radio stations do in the Mall of America, and they interviewed several offensive linemen, and they all said that Sheldon Richardson just destroyed them, and Teddy didn't even have the option to throw it out.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't blaming Teddy for that.
0.5 was too generous. It might have been 0.1.
Yeah, I wasn't blaming Teddy for that. I'm saying this whole idea of we have schemes to protect Teddy now. Yeah, sometimes the other team just has players who beat the crap out of our guys.
That's true.
And they have those players.
But you're pointing one play out of 60.
There were other plays where the protection broke down.
I don't believe you.
The other sacks?
There are none. Teddy was scrambling. Can't you just jump on the train with me?
The crazy train?
Yeah, it feels so good to be on it.
See, then when I jump on the happy, optimistic train, then games like this game against the Jets happen. And I'm like, I hate this.
First off, the sound bar from you doing that looks like a giant penis because it's just you the whole time.
It was a very manly sound, clearly.
Obviously. I don't know. I want to see it. This will be the first real test with games under Teddy's belt and knowing what NFL football's like. And I think we're going to win. I really do. I'm not even joking. Because...
Are we betting lunch at Great Mandarin on this?
I'll take it all day long. All day long.
Shaken.
Not stirred.
I'm looking forward to the new movie they're starting filming.
Who?
New James Bond.
I thought you meant Tony from Great Mandarin.
I didn't know Tony ever filmed.
Yeah, I didn't either, so I thought you knew something crazy and fun.
Oh.
What else would you like to talk about? There really wasn't a lot to talk about, because as fun as the Jets game was, it was depressing that we didn't do well. But we're going to win next week. Book it.
I haven't been to Great Mandarin in a long time.
Shame on you.
Well, there was the Bears game. Well, we've had 3 games at home.
Yep.
Before that was the Bears game where you went to Paul's place and I stayed here.
Before that was the bye. Right? Didn't we come out of the bye to the Bears?
That might be right. I remember the last home game before that was the one where I was feeling sick and did not show. And I'm assuming there was another away or home game between that. So it's been a long time.
It has been a long time.
So I'm looking forward to getting my Great Mandarin fixed.
Me too.
Other topics? I don't know. I can't wait till the new stadium is done. They put another piece of the steel. What do they call that? That steel middle beam.
What's a truss?
The truss. Another part of the truss is up.
Yes, it's going to hold up our hopes and dreams.
Such a ridiculous smile when you say that. No, we've talked about everything I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Do you have anything else?
Not really. I'm going to be honest.
All right. Well, we will see you after the bet has concluded, and then we will have something to say about that.
Maybe you'll tell everyone how much it hurt you to pay for my lunch.
You know how you're going to...
No, you're not going to anally feed me. No. Maybe.
I'm going to have to put a warning on this podcast. I know exactly what the description is going to have to at least include a warning. Yeah. All right. Well, see you then.
Bye.